Our first speaker today is Tony Samarco from Device Solutions, speaking to emergency digital paging. Tony?
Hello, thank you, and thanks, Dusty, for the introduction. My name is Tony Samarco, and I'm the Director of Technology Strategy with Device Solutions. And I've been with Device Solutions for over 6 years and have 20 years of experience in the wireless communications community. My background is software and systems engineering. And Device Solutions is a small engineering solutions company with 18 years of operation. And we'll talk a little bit more about Device Solutions later. And we are thrilled to be invited to the First Responder Showcase to inform you about our Phase 2 contract for emergency digital paging over ATSC 3. ATSC 3 Next Gen TV is the latest digital broadcast standard being rolled out over public TV broadcasters and private broadcasters in support of higher resolution, more secure data casting services. Our goal is to provide improved situational awareness and reliable redundant communications via ATSC 3 emergency digital paging. Okay, we interviewed over 100 firefighters and medical responders, emergency equipment manufacturers, and state emergency services IT departments to really focus on what needs to be addressed with the new paging technology. Today's existing emergency paging technology limits situational awareness for emergency responders. And are unreliable and don't support secure data. Fire and EMS services must be assured that critical secure information will be delivered reliably to the responders anywhere in the field. An example of poor coverage with no alternate data path is when our co-founder and president, Bob Witter, was an emergency responder for a rural Orange Grove Fire Company here in North Carolina. Today, he's the vice president on their board of directors. He was the first to arrive to a call to assist an elderly woman who had fallen at her home. He entered the house and called out, but never found her or anyone in the house. Outside, he saw his colleagues next door. He was in the wrong house as the initial page had the incorrect address, and he did not receive the update. Situation could have been more dangerous, but luckily no one was home. It's not viable to rely on commercial cellular services for mission-critical communications and industry best practices. Downtimes during hurricane, tornadoes, and weather events impact commercial services that can lead to system outages. Two-way radios can also be very expensive. Most fire departments can't afford, and they are dependent on more affordable paging devices at a lower cost. In rural fire departments, sometimes only the officers carry two-way radios. So responders rely on their pagers. And by depending only on today's pagers, safety can be compromised due to reduced situational awareness. So who benefits? So state and county emergency services, organizations that rely on real-time emergency notifications. Any organization that needs a reliable primary or backup emergency paging system, including multiple federal organizations and hospitals. Those needing to update non-real-time digital data, such as distance-based learning applications, updates to training manuals, updates to device firmware and configuration. And we are seeing the need has expanded well beyond emergency paging and others, broadcasters, users, distance-based learning, and we're eager to explore those channels but that can be served by this technology as well. So today's technology is primarily analog VHS, analog pager based, and there are certainly coverage issues and non-secure data paths and minimal interoperability to neighboring and statewide systems, which are essential during large-scale emergency events. The CAD E911 call centers, the dispatch centers that begin the paging distribution, are largely non-standardized and unique for each vendor installation, which has made interoperability a challenge. And normalization from multiple vendors is also an enormous challenge. There do exist emerging cellular data-based, cell phone-based application systems, but those systems also face issues of coverage reliability and latency. These private systems do not contribute to an improved rating for fire departments, which impact public insurance rates, as they're not controlled by a government partner. In other words, commercial cellular or commercial paging services are not approved by organizations such as the National Fire Protection Agency, the NFPA, and Insurance Services Office, ISO, who provide guidance on communication systems. For this reason, each agency is likely to purchase or lease paging infrastructure and equipment to serve their response district, and multiple transmitters would be needed to serve larger areas or regional systems. This is typically done in coordination with the 911 centers, as the information originates there and is sent out to the responders. So referring to the needs that we discovered in our 100+ interviews, we boiled down to the following critical customer requirements: that it must be reliable and redundant data path is essential, that the latency must be less than 10 seconds, that coverage should be 100% with in-building penetration, and that the data must be secure. There must be regional statewide interoperability, and there must be a quick, easy way to review previously received messages. It should be possible to associate location via GPS services and deliver video and audio streams, and up-to-date real-time delivery of digital images and pre-plans rather than relying on sometimes outdated hard copies and binders. So let's take a look at the solution. So an emergency page comes into an E911 call center, and we've developed a normalization server which normalizes the CAD data from multiple E911 call center vendors that sends the data through APIs to an ATSC transport encoder. Note that we're also working with ATSC and NIST on standardization strategy. At the transport encoder, the data is encrypted to secure the data. Encrypted data then goes to the broadcaster. Public broadcasters have proven to be extremely reliable during emergency events. We have prototyped and our testing this year are twofold. First, a traditional pager, which you see down here on the right-hand side, with the additional benefit of a display for viewing the secure data for improved situational awareness. In addition, we're adding a second low-cost ATSC3 receiver-only product with a Bluetooth interface to a smartphone to provide data to existing smartphone applications or the Device Solutions companion iOS or Android application. Both solutions provide better situational awareness and a more reliable secure data path at a comparable cost of today's two-way radios. In addition, with the ongoing push to reduce voice traffic, especially during mass casualty events, this provides a method to get additional data delivered without impacting two-way radio traffic. So from a high level, we can categorize the specifications and features into four main categories. One being improved coverage. So our test partner, PBS North Carolina Broadcast, has proven to be extremely reliable. And PBS North Carolina has nearly 100% footprint in the state of North Carolina. ATSC also provides a redundant data path and likely improves insurance rates. Latency reduction from the time the emergency page leaves the dispatch center to the time it's received by the pager to be under 10 seconds. Secure data. Secure encrypted data increases situational awareness by providing additional critical data and the ability to quickly and easily review the data, and a means of providing regional and statewide interoperability. Some neighboring communities have coordinated this, but it is an expensive and difficult process depending on what technology they deploy. So we'll look at let's compare the existing options, the ATSC3 paging option that we're providing, the analog voice paging, and the cellular paging. So on a coverage perspective, as we just discussed, the ATSC3 paging provides great coverage with the existing infrastructure for broadcast TV. The analog voice paging, we have it colored as yellow, as there can be spotty geographic coverage based on the deployment of the proprietary system. And the cellular is bound by the constraints of the deployment of the cellular network. And in addition, the cellular is not recognized as a viable path for improving the department ISO ratings. And they can also be subject to outages. On the latency component, I'll start by saying the analog voice paging can generally be around 40 seconds. The cellular paging a little better, around 30. But for us on the ATSC3 paging side, we're looking at under 10 seconds for latency. On the secure data path, ATSC does provide the ability to secure the data while the analog voice paging does not. And the cellular side does provide cellular-based secure data transmission. For statewide interoperability, the pages can be routed over a greater geographic area and not suffer from the coordination that is required for reaching multiple paging areas with the analog voice paging system and the cellular system. The current state of our development, where our project is right now, is we've completed the initial prototype design and assembly of both the ATSC3 pager designs that we discussed. the traditional standalone handheld pager with the display, and the second receiver that interfaces to the Device Solutions companion Android and iOS smartphone applications. We validated the pager operation in a lab environment using a simulated ATSC3 monitor and in a lab at PBS North Carolina. And we've successfully received pages displayed the transmitted messages on our standalone pager. So that's exciting. And although component supply chain issues have been an ongoing global problem, we've successfully procured the components for the initial prototype builds and for a second Spin 2 build later this year. Testing with PBS North Carolina has begun, and we will shortly begin live field testing in North Carolina in the third quarter. And we will also include a number of local fire companies to support that testing. Product commercialization is expected in mid-2023. So a little more about Device Solutions. We're co-founded in 2003 by Bob Witter and Chris Lamb. We're located in Morrisville, North Carolina by Research Triangle Park. We provide product development services and IoT products, and our product is branded Cellio. Our core expertise is in embedded hardware and software design of wireless devices across multiple markets, including medical and consumer. We provide wireless radio integration and antenna design for 4G, 5G, cellular, LPWAN, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all wireless technologies, and we assist companies meeting global certification support in troubleshooting, pre-screening, etc. We have a long-standing relationship with mechanical engineering, manufacturing, and data hosting firms that allow us to deliver full end-to-end solutions or provide just the parts that our customers need. So as we move into early testing, we're gathering feedback on the device usability and the performance based on the prototype unit testing. And we hope to get a lot of feedback based on our field testing from the EMTs and the user community, and also from folks in the audience listening to this presentation today on other application opportunities beyond emergency paging that can benefit from this technology. So we look forward to hearing from you and are happy to arrange follow-up dialogue. Here's our contact information, and we're happy to entertain any questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony. All right, if you guys have any questions for Tony, please type them into the Q&A box, and we'll give him a chance to respond. Want to come back on camera, Tony?
Okay.
I'm seeing a published question. Chris, do you see that?
Thank you. Here we go. All right, so our first question is, well, it looks like you're sharing a screen, Tony. Could you go back to your last slide, your contact slide? So that people can write it down. Thank you.
Sharing.
Perfect. All right, Tony. So the first question is, in your testing with PBS North Carolina, what have you seen with respect to reduced latency time? And do you think you'll be able to get to sub 10 seconds?
Okay, yeah, it's a great question. So the early testing that we've done in PBS North Carolina shows really promising results from the, right now we don't have the messages coming from the CADs into our paging server to do the normalization, but what we do is we inject the pages at that point. And from that point, where we take the message into the paging server and then feed it into the encoder and then broadcast it over the PBS ATSC3 broadcast, and the pager receiving the messages is sub 5 seconds. So that's really good. Now, even when you introduce the additional time needed for the communication to the CAD E911 centers to do that normalization, we've seen that that's around 2 seconds. So we're very confident that we're going to make the sub 10 second latency.
All right, excellent. Great news. All right, so if anyone else has any questions, please type them into the Q&A box. The Q&A box is icon. It should be near the top. It looks like 2 little bubbles with a question mark in it. The chat is disabled, so please use the Q&A.
And I'll put the email address for folks into the chat again. So if for some reason you're not seeing those bubbles, you can send it to our email address and we'll get that bounced over. So somebody's raising their hand. If you're not able to post a question in the chat, please email stsbir.program@hq.dhs.gov. Again, we will not be able to unmute you. So if you have a question or comment, we would love to hear it. Please email.
We're also happy to take questions if you want to email us directly, as on the contact us slide.
We've got some coming in. We're getting them.
Yep. All right. Next question, Tony, is, are you all offering any internships or assistance to help people in need?
Yes, we are. And we'll be happy to take those requests at email Chris Lamb, our CEO, for that.
All right, thank you. Next question is, what is the anticipated or projected cost per unit?
I'll let our president, Bob Woodard, answer that question.
Yeah, we expect our costs to be comparable to existing analog pagers that are out there today. And as we get into some integration and some module development, we expect the cost to fall even more.
All right, great, thank you. Next question then is, have you done any measurements on signal strengths inside of buildings, and will the pagers indicate when they are not receiving the signal?
So we will have an indication of the signal quality. We've done some simulations with our partner WRCNC on the antenna design to give us decent penetration in building. That testing, where we do more live testing within building penetration, will be starting up within the next few months.
All right, great, thank you.
Yeah, again, I will add on that ATSC 3 does allow for some very robust coding of the different PLPs. So it will allow us to dynamically change both the modulation and the coding rate to increase penetration for those difficult areas. So that's part of what we will be tuning while we're out doing the live testing.
All right, fantastic. Next question is, how is this monetized?
I'll let our president, Bob Woodard, take that one.
Yes, from Device Solutions perspective, we are actually looking to license the technology to manufacturers who want to develop the product. And we're also working with the state of North Carolina right now on a system for the state of North Carolina.
All right, thank you. Next question then is, how do you get the local TV station on board to support this service?
So what we found in our interviews is that part of the public broadcast systems, part of their goal is to assist in emergency services. And that is built in to be what their mandate is. And the discussions have been very easy with the public television folks to get them on board with the technology. Plus, it takes just a very, very small amount of data that they have available on their broadcast channels. So it meets their mandate beautifully from a goals perspective. And even private broadcasters are looking to adopt the technology to provide these kind of emergency services to local communities. So that component has not been a difficult hurdle.
We've talked to the PBS systems in many states, and they've been very much on board. A lot of this original technology came from some ideas championed by the PBS community, and even the big broadcasters such as Sinclair have been very interested in supporting this going forward.
All right, fantastic. So I think this will be our last question based on time. The question is, what is the maximum data rate you can realize with this system?
Well, the ATSC 3 channel is highly configurable. I think the maximum is about 56 megabits. We're just carving off a small portion of that, roughly a megabit, give or take, but it could be configured lots of different ways. So you could even fire up additional channels, so to speak, for dedicated video streams or audio streams. There's just a lot of flexibility that can be done, and it can even be done on the fly by adapting the quality of the other broadcast signals in the case of a mass casualty or other large event.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Tony and Bob. If we didn't get to your questions, we'll pass them along to Tony and Bob, and they can follow up with you, or please reach out to them directly on their contact information on the slide.